While a growing number of Chinese factories are using robots to replace human labor, one Silicon Valley veteran warns that similar trends may reduce job opportunities and dampen consumption.
Now we're kind of reaching a tipping point where the machines can really displace a lot of people, and I think that that can be a big economic and social problem.
Martin Ford is the author of Rise of the Robots: Technology and the Threat of a Jobless Future. He doesn't withhold his concerns about robots replacing human labor.
In the past, we only think, labor-intensive work will be replaced by robots. But now white-collar jobs are also threatened, including lawyers and journalists. Are there some sectors that are immune to this trend?
It doesn't matter whether that job is in a factory doing, manual blue-collar type work on an assembly line, or if that job is sitting in front of a desk working with information. So this is something that will impact both low-skill jobs and higher-skill jobs. The question is it really predictable? And if it is, then it will be ultimately impacted, I think.
Data from the International Federation of Robotics shows that robot sales to China jumped 54% to hit 56,000 units in 2014, making China the world's biggest market for industrial robots. As a result, factory workers not only have to compete among themselves, but also with robots for job opportunities.
And nowadays, many Chinese factories are using robots to replace the human labor. What are some of the consequences?
A lot of factories are bringing in robots because they can't hire enough workers or because they don't want wages to rise. But I think eventually, as these technologies get better and better, as you have more robots and also better robots, that eventually there's going to be a displacement. That there may be less opportunities for those factory workers.
And there's an argument that the automation would dampen the consumption, which in turn hurts the economy.
You're losing customers because you're losing jobs and because people don't have an alternate income, or because technology is perhaps repressing their wages, right? People no longer see wage growth because the technology is becoming more and more capable, and that means that they then have less to spend. They're not good customers.
Developed countries like the US have gone through similar phases in which traditional jobs were lost to automation.
Other countries, as they have developed, what happens is that the manufacturing jobs disappear. I mean, in the United States, in the 1950s, there were more than a third of the workforce working in factories. Now, it's less than 10% of our workforce in factories. Traditionally, what happens is that those people transition into the service sector and they find service jobs. But in order for that to happen, you've got to have consumers that can buy those services being produced in the service sector. And I think that it will be a little bit difficult for China because you are making that transition at a time when the technology is so much more advanced than it was for the United States, when, for the first time these technologies are really displacing workers even in the service sector.
Yeah, we've heard that robots are serving in restaurants and some other places.
That's right. It's restaurants, it's food servers, fast food, retail. The store clerks are going to be impacted by mobile technologies where people can take their smartphone into the store and buy things, check out without dealing with a person. All of this is happening in the U.S. and in Europe already.
Ford clarified that he doesn't oppose technological advancement in general, but he also stressed the importance of creating a social welfare system that is sufficiently capable of supporting displaced workers.
Historically, technology has made us better off, but things are changing. We're now reaching a point where machines are going to start displacing people from jobs. Eventually, we may have to adapt to that, perhaps with something quite radical like a guaranteed income, where everyone will have access to at least a livable income, whether or not they're able to find a traditional job or not.